let's get into the Matrix trilogy. Let's talk about our first experiences with it, our
I
hopes
only
for the
have
new
these
movie.
two. I only
Hey,
have these two.
uh,
Um,
I think did I sell? Caleb, I might take those from you and give you the trilogy I have on DVD since I upgraded. Like I might resell yours and give you my 3-pack. But well, I don't know, but because my 3-pack is actually a 4-pack, because it's got that cartoon thing, which is cool. But anyway, let's get to the movies. 1999. I'm gonna kick it off real quick. Saw it with my mom in the theaters, and my mom is my movie buddy, and I love movies that it makes you think. And this movie was so like computers and post-apocalyptic. At the end of it, my mom was like, I don't really know what happened. And movies like that where I didn't really fully know what happened either was great. So we had a lot to talk about. You know what I mean? There's lots of layers to it. I got to explain it to her again, and we got to talk about it for hours. So I think I saw this movie probably two or three times in the theater. Loved the first movie. Everybody, was getting it on VHS, DVD, it's amazing how many times you go over to somebody's house once it came out on video, and how many it was always playing at somebody's house. Like, people loved this movie. But I will say that the only negative I really have about this movie, is this, in my opinion, this is the beginning of the downfall of blockbuster action CGI movies, because the CGI was just throwing up all over the place. That the fight scenes were extravagant, which worked for the movie, but everybody else tried to mimic it without giving it any other, like, like shtick like the Matrix has. But I love the original Matrix, and I had high hopes for a second movie, even though I don't think that you need a second movie after this movie was done. I feel like it was pretty solid on its own. But let's see. Sorry, I'm just scrolling here real quick. Same here twice. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's something that it had to be seen in twice, and that's smart because in the movie when you first saw it. I mean, at least for me and my mother, like, well, at least for me, I got it, but there was still so much happening. I had to see it again, and that's the kind of movie that you want to make for people, that they can get it on the first go, but there's still more every time you watch it. Every time you go back, you learn something more. You see something. The scope, the gravity of the situation sets in. It was a think piece. The first movie was a think piece. It was something that was, there'd been hints of it in the past. There's other movies that had done stuff like that. I think this is a bit of, and I never heard anybody say this, and I guarantee somebody has already said it, but in my opinion, this is a little bit of a ripoff of Virtuosity. But I don't really care.
in a way.
Yeah.
In a way. My first with the Matrix, so I saw the trailers. I wanted to see it in theaters. I didn't. Honestly, the first time I saw it, my brother had like a 8-hour VHS, like the recorder
Mm-hmm.
kind of VHS. He had American Pie, Cruel Intentions, and The Matrix all recorded onto one VHS tape. And I watched all three of those a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, in fact, I think I might still have that VHS in a box somewhere. Um, and oddly enough, at that age, I was more interested in The Matrix than Cruel Intentions or American Pie, because it came out in 99, 2000-ish, so I'm 10
99.
years old. So you would think, but no, I was watching The Matrix more. It was something that fit because of the age that, we are, like our generation, with computer programming, with the concept of multiple lives, the concept of this reality not necessarily being reality, or our realities not being the same. My 2 cents on the original Matrix is that it is a great movie. I do agree that unfortunately it set a bar and other movies tried to meet it, and now all of a sudden we just have nothing but CGI throw up in every second movie. I was actually watching Age of Ultron the other morning, and I was just like, wow, it didn't hold up so well on the CG end. Um, but
Well, there's just so much of it. And the bad thing about CGI nowadays and this is just my opinion. I feel like there's less care in it, right? So like when it was first started, you had to put a lot of work into it. You had to really, it's like clay, right? You had to work with it and really get it to the shape. If you look at the original
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, it still holds up today because they just put so much work in it. But the problem with CGI today is they shoot sometimes in 8K digitally, but then when they go to upload it into 4K or Blu-ray, the they downscale it to whatever it's going to be. But most of the time, CGI is only ever at 2K. So if you get 4K, and it only really ever shows up at 2K, and so it's never really the same quality of the rest of the movie. And so that's just a little bit of a problem with today's world. Is less care and the quality shift because of the price, because of how much it costs to shoot or to the cost of CGI. But anyway, Stan
Another
Winston.
couple of things on the original Matrix is it like every generation gets a handful of movies that just like if you think of that, it's going to lead back to that generation. The Matrix is hands down one of them. And I will fight this next point till the day I die. There should have never been a Matrix sequel. Matrix Reloaded is over the top, and its CGI is horrendous. Even at the time, I thought it was horrendous. And the last entry into the Matrix franchise was a huge letdown, in my opinion. And I'm not really looking forward to this entry, especially with Lawrence Fishburne not returning. Once I found out.
Since they didn't actually, and this might have changed, but when they were first going into this, they didn't even contact him. So I'm assuming that this is going to somehow lead into either him returning in the second movie, or this is going to be a revamp of the whole Matrix itself, and that's how Morpheus changes. It's like in the third movie where the Oracle gets changed because she makes a sacrifice, and that was part of it, is it changed her coding or whatever.
See, and I get that, but I think personally, from a standpoint of somebody who can separate out a movie that can have as many garbage sequels as it wants and it's fine, and a movie that shouldn't, Matrix really, really, really shouldn't have, because now it's going to have to redo the same thing the first two sequels did for it to make sense. And they're going to try and cram that in another trilogy, but I've already seen it. The only difference is Keanu Reeves is now John Wick. Flexing right now, I got a PS5. Lucky.
Nice. I wish, man. Someday, like I'm gonna skip this console's generation and pray that by the time like virtual reality really takes off, that my kids are gonna be into gaming, and then I won't have missed out. I'm just gonna be saving my money.
No. You need to get a PC because we need to upgrade our quality, and the game quality is better. Trust me, I built my monster for about $600 and worth every penny.
Yeah, I had a buddy that has a pimped out computer that a few months ago he was trying to sell me, so I'm going to look into that. But going back to the Matrix, I've heard of those. Going back to the Matrix, like Lawrence Fishburne, he was in some good movies, right, in the 90s and in the 80s. You know, he went from Friday. He went from Nightmare 3, where he was Larry Fishburne, and then he went to, he did a lot of good movies in the 90s. I'm thinking of Event Horizon. I'm thinking of Boys in the Hood. You know, like some really good movies he did. But this is the movie that changed him from a B-lister to an A-lister. And I don't know if he's an A-lister anymore, but this is what made him a star. And Keanu Reeves, if you look at Keanu Reeves in the 90s, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Speed, he did some good stuff in the 90s, but this is also the movie that took him into A-list superstar.
This is also the movie that he had to change his acting style. Every other movie before that, I will flat out say he is the same dude. Bill and Ted is the same dude as dude in Point Break.
But not Speed. Point Break. I love Point Break. I actually probably like Point Break more than I do The Matrix. Yeah, good call. Yeah, Good call, Pee Wee Herman. He just shows up in a lot of stuff, and he did a really, really good job in oh, no, hang on. What's Love Got to Do with It? He was Ike, Ike and Tina Turner and their marriage and stuff like that. Phenomenal movie. Loved that movie. Very random, way far away from Matrix and horror, like we always talk. But anyway, going back to the Matrix, these movies made these people superstars, and the Wachowski siblings, they were nobody to me, and then all of a sudden they were huge, right? So anyway, so then we have a 4-year hiatus, and then we go Matrix Reloaded. And then, what was it, like 6 months later? I meant to do some more research on this, but like 6 months later, boom. Which was really cool that they shot them back to back, and the fact that we didn't have to wait 4.5 years like we most of the time do. And the flavor of the next two movies would be very similar, but like the flavor of the first movie where it was like gray and black and very muted, and then all of a sudden it turned into like neon lights, Batman Forever, green everywhere. Like even look at the cover. Look at the cover. This is how it went. It went from blackish blues into just like bright, crazy colors. Like I'm not sure what happened. The budget just got quadrupled and they went nuts.
The analogy I like to use is it went from a film like Dark City or The Crow all the way to Batman and Robin. Like it went from something that was like dark and there to an over-the-top superhero film. And that is kind of the problem. I would even venture to say if you cut off the Matrix before Neo flies away, you've got a better movie.
Well, I don't mind the flying away because at the end of the movie, he's like, hey, there's a change coming, and you're going to witness it or whatever he says. That's a blur. But when he flies away, you know that he's God in the Matrix, right? So it's over. Like, you don't really need to have anything further. He can do whatever he's got to do. But let's go into the second movie. I like the second movie quite a bit. I like that they expand on the Matrix. I like how they bring in how Neo's not the first one. I like how they bring in the engineer or whatever his name is, whatever his name is, the Colonel Sanders dude at the end. I love that. I love the screens. I love the Keymaster. I like they talk about the anomalies or whatever that usually the old files get deleted, but sometimes they stay behind, kind of like ghosts in our world. Like they don't move on to heaven, they stay here. Felt a lot like the twins or whatever, so they phase in and out, right?
Yeah, Architect.
The Architect. Thank you. But I just there's a lot of good stuff in that movie that expands on that. You also bring in other ships, right? You bring in other captains, right? Jada Pinkett Smith. You bring in all this different stuff. Then you get to see Zion. Like there's so much to chew on in Reloaded that I think finales sometimes they're just hard to live up to. We'll get into the third movie, but I want to do a video on sequels that are not as good as the original, but I throw in more often. This is one of them. I think that the first Matrix is almost I know, but I think it's like think about the original Halloween, right? Masterpiece, right? It's not perfect. We can tear it apart if we really wanted to, but it's a masterpiece. The Matrix, to me, the original, is a masterpiece, right? But it doesn't. It's a think piece, right? There's a lot to chew on, right? It has some, has some action, and it has, but it has a lot to chew on. You're getting invested in the characters. You're getting invested in the world. And the second one, it's all action. It's still world building, but it's expanding. It's I think it's the first movie is an event film that I don't want to watch too often because I praise it so much that I don't want it to lose its masterpiece in my mind. And I just think that the second one is just more enjoyable. I don't think it's a better movie. I just enjoy the holy bejesus out of the second movie. And I even like Smith returning as a virus that keeps expanding and expanding. I think it's a great way to play on the computer aspect of it. So yeah, it's not perfect, but I really like the sequel. I like the what's the other guy's name? The Frenchman, right? Another cool character. Yeah, I love the second movie. And then yeah, Kevin, he says I loved Reloaded so much. Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
I think it's a fun sequel, but it does more to venture away from the original, in my opinion. Like that tonal shift is what really gets me. And you know, you can have a tonal shift in a franchise, that's fine, but it was so abrupt. Like the first movie, you can watch it, end it, you're done. If you go to the second one, you are going like super, 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 and then just kind of this weird like everyday action movie, and that just it didn't work for me. I mean, it made some. Enter the Matrix was probably my favorite video game at that point, but made an awesome game. But I just and I watched the movie a lot. Actually, the case for this is like destroyed because I watched it so much. I loved it when it came out, but I just the more and more and more that I watched it, the more and more I disliked it. And I don't know a single person who doesn't agree with Kevin's last statement there.
Yeah, Revolutions. Yeah, I agree. But real quick, the only real negative I have for Reloaded, and it's just something that it's one of my pet peeves in movies. And this is also a video I'd love to do, but I just got to remember to write these down and keep it to the side. But my pet peeve in movies is when you have this like invincible character that it takes a whole movie to kill him or whatever, or fight him, or nobody can stand toe to toe with him, and then in the next movie you take them out left and right like they were nothing. Like this happens a lot. Like in Stranger Things did it, where like you couldn't stop them, and at the end of the movie, like or at the end of whatever season, they have like shotguns and they're stopping them left and right. You know, there's new things in this. Like I don't want to spoil that. That's a new. But yeah, I don't like it in movie. And it's weird because it's like you go from Alien, right? And there's one alien, then you go to Aliens, there's a ton. They kill a ton of them in that movie. But in the first movie, they couldn't kill them because you bleed through the hole and they all die. So that one kind of works. But I just don't like big bads that were really, really hard to kill. And then all of a sudden, everybody can kill them. So yeah, in the first movie, like nobody could stand toe to toe with an agent, not even Morpheus. And in the second movie, they get an upgrade. And everybody's killing them left and right. Like, what? That was like the biggest irritation to me. Like, and there's no explanation for it. It's just, I just thought that was a little weak. But I love Reloaded. I hope you get a chance to rewatch it, Caleb, and I hope you find some more enjoyment of it. I hope that some of the things I said that will get you interested in it and make it a better movie for you. I don't know.
I want to revisit all three before the new Matrix comes out, but I really don't think that's going to be possible. Honestly, I mainly want to revisit the first. I have to say the trailer for the new Matrix does not hype me up in any way, shape, or form. Well, it actually frustrates me.
Yeah, hang on, we'll get there. So let's, if you're good with Reloaded, we'll just run right into Revelations. Like, so at the end of the second movie, right, you've got, and this was cool too, like, right, you got Smith transferring his essence or whatever into a human being from the transport from the Matrix into the real world, which I thought was a really cool spin. Once again, you're adding to the lore. It has that horror vibe, that another one of those body manipulations, body whatevers, intrusions. I don't know. I like that. And then so the first movie ends with Neo doing a Matrix move because he's connected to the Matrix, even outside the Matrix, and he stops the Sentinels. And then he passes out, and so you have him and Smith just sitting there on a table, and that's how Reloaded ends. And you're like, holy crap! And Zion's under attack now. It's all coming down. Like, so I think it's one of those impending doom things. But the third movie just stretches the holy bejeezers out of it. And then you got Neo who, Revolutions. I'm sorry. But you got Neo who gets trapped right in the beginning of the movie. He's trapped at the bus station with the the Train Man. I haven't seen these movies in a while, but I've seen them so much. I don't need to watch them again. I've seen them. But once again, adding to the lore, adding a separate thing. I thought that was I like that they're adding into it. The Frenchman in the party scene I thought was really cool. The dude's like crawling on the wall because he's the guy who collects the old agents. He collects the ghosts and all that. Like, I thought that was really cool. The problem is it at the end of the movie, it goes full Dragon Ball Z, which is okay to a degree because you have Neo flying at the end of the first movie, and then you have Smith so powerful that he has basically Neo's powers because he's corrupted the Matrix so much that he's become God, basically. So you have basically God and the devil, right? I mean, there's some of that in this. There's a lot of context hidden underneath that, and I love, cinematic language and stuff like that, which is great. I mean, it's underlying, but it's there, and it just felt disjointed and weird how he takes a ship, he goes off. They have the fight scene in the ship, which was okay because Smith was a stowaway in the ship, and then you got Trinity who dies, and it's just like I don't know. It's weird how much I cared when I didn't really buy their love for some reason. Like I never got fully invested on their like fate love. The Oracle called it that she'd fall in love with the one and yada yada. I didn't really fully, but when she dies, man, and the rebar's sticking out of her, and like God, he loses his eyesight. He's fully on like basically once again Jesus dies on the cross for all men's sins. It's kind of like sorry, I'm very tired. It's like Terminator, right, with Skynet, right? So like all men's sins, creating this AI, scorching the earth and all that stuff. Like, so he basically becomes God, and he gives his life for everybody for Zion and for everybody that's currently still living in the Matrix. So, I like on paper, I like the bullet points, but it just is so, like I said, disconjointed. And then you have the whole fight scene in Zion. It felt like, couldn't you be a little bit more prepared for this? Like you have these walking mecha dudes that get like barely pushed and they fall over. I don't know.
Now I do want to say, if I do get the chance to go back, notice I don't own the third one, and it's halfway on purpose because for forever it was on like HBO, Netflix, Hulu. It was plastered everywhere. The second and third one were, and the first one wasn't. But the more and more that I've been trying to think about the Matrix, I haven't had enough time to watch snippets or anything like that for this conversation. But the more and more I think about it, the more I think that I will enjoy the third more than the second, because it's getting into the finale. Even though I don't like the finale, I feel like I can respect it. It feels more in line with the first than the second does. But then again, that's from somebody who hasn't seen the third film in maybe 5-6 years. So I reserve the right to change that opinion.
Right. I mean, times change, our tastes change, things like that. The thing I think that's also a big thing of I think it's hidden in the background of your mind in Revolutions is Revelations. God, whatever. Sorry. Is the fact it's like the Batman trilogy with Christopher Nolan, right? Like Batman is only really Batman for a very short amount of time, right? So his whole life, his tragedies, his training, his commitment, he becomes Batman, and he does what he's got to do to save Gotham, and it's over. Like, you feel like, Neo, the one, like they're talking about prophesizing, and they're talking about all this stuff, and he'll change everything, and really he gets like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't feel like this legendary character. It felt like he came on scene and was gone in a week.
I have to agree with that, but speaking of Batman or the Dark Knight trilogy, I do feel like the third Matrix film, going that far into the story arc, kind of did set the ground for some of the future like comic book films and stuff, because it was one of the films that it went far enough to make a film that people all call boring, but gave enough to show an actual end to the story. Like, that's the other thing that I have an issue with here. It gave the end. It wrapped it up. Like, technically, if you want to do all three, again, I stick with the first, but it ended the story. It's done. It's over. It's finished.
Well, that's the thing. Also, when you go back and when you rewatch the third one, like, also remember that the third movie, and this is big for me, it's not as big for everybody else, but it keeps the flavor of the second movie, right? there's still some remnants of the first movie, but it's pretty far removed from the first movie because everybody knows. But it
Yeah.
doesn't betray characters, and it doesn't really do anything that's like really far out there. Like it keeps expanding, but nothing betrays the characters. So I think there's redeeming facts into it to where I know people don't like it, they don't necessarily go to it, but I think that's because once again, like you look at like the original Halloween, right? We'll just go back to that masterpiece. The second one, not as good, still very enjoyable. Look at the fourth movie. A lot of people over time have kind of come to love it because it has remnants of what made the original a masterpiece. So yeah, I think there's good things in it. I hope that you and Kevin give it another shot. And just like I said, I understand exactly what you're saying. I understand like why I get it. I get the gripes, but at the end of the day, I don't know how much better you could have actually done to end it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it was an ending, and it didn't betray anybody, and it gave me good fight scenes. It expanded on the lore. Yeah, but anyway,
I have to say also real quick. Remember, the opinions I'm giving are coming from a guy with Terminator 3 stuff up here, so I get it.
Right. Well, well, that's why I love you. You got some weird thoughts up there, but let's go real quick.
Oh, that movie, Terminator 3 is garbage, absolute trash. Sorry, continue.
No, the only real bad thing I'll say about Terminator 3 is the dude who played John Connor. His name escapes me, but anyway, let's go on to, you've already touched on it a little bit, the expectations and hopes and dreams for the fourth movie that nobody asked for, pretty sure.
Literally, dude, I think everybody was like, I heard there was going to be a new Matrix, and everybody was like, why?
I know,
and
crickets.
Then all this, and we got a trailer, and like half of our nerd world is stoked, and the other half is like, but why? Like, I picture Ryan Reynolds taking the mask off, but why? Like, right. It doesn't make sense. I will say this, I'm gonna see it. Of course I'm gonna see it. Depending on how it goes, I may not see the rest of the trilogy until it's all released on the super cheap Blu-ray home release that I can get a 3-pack for. But I don't know. I have very low expectations, and I think I'm going to blame all my low expectations on Halloween Kills from now on. Like, that's just how it is. Nobody wants this movie. Nobody wanted this movie. Now people want the movie now that they saw the trailer, until they watch some of these way fancier YouTube people break down the trailer and show some things that look pretty bad. And they're like, wait, that made cut for the trailer? Oh crap.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I watched the trailer twice, right? When it first, well, about a week after it came out. And I was just like, I feel like this is more John Wick than the Matrix, and it's all because of the beard. Like, I don't know what it is. I know they shot both of them back to back. He shot John Wick 4 and the Matrix 4 back to back. They're supposed to release May of 2021, I think, or May of 2020, but
they were both supposed to release on the same day.
2021. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where the trailer, it just left me like, okay, I don't know. I didn't like. There was some throwbacks like with the pills and stuff like that. Okay. The Morpheus, interested just to see if it plays out to where I like it or don't like it. I don't know. I just, it's like Ghostbusters for me, right? It's like I wasn't really asking for a third Ghostbusters, but now everybody likes it, so I'm like, great. I'm glad it exists because it was a winner, right? But I don't
I cannot wait.
No.
I cannot wait for you to see Ghostbusters. I cannot believe it had no business being as good as it was.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. I love it when Ghostbusters is a huge franchise. You should expect greatness from it. We were actually just talking about before we eventually went live, and we kept trying to do this. I was upstairs talking to my family member about Star Wars and how, they're like, he was saying that, the new Star Wars, the trilogy, is like, it's good for what it is. And I said, but that's the problem. I said, the first movie and the first trilogy are epic. They are masterpieces for the most part. Like, you can nitpick it if you want, but for the most part, especially for when they came out, masterpieces. I said 40 years removed, right? Holy crap. Like, you're probably never going to actually reach my expectations because I expect you to hit that level. I just do. Like, otherwise, like, I shouldn't have to lower my expectations because it's been 40 years. T3? Terminator, like, I don't know. Terminator? Arnold?
T2. T1 and T2, like you can't reach that bar again.
So stop it.
It's going to be impossible. Yeah. Now,
so
the fact that Ghostbusters did makes me super happy, super happy.
And that's what they should do.
I can't wait to see it again.
Anything other than the greatness that is what we grew up with, it's irritating. Like, and you could say, well, it's still a good movie. Yeah, it's still a good movie. But it's not a masterpiece like that one, and that's you can differentiate between the first Matrix, '99, to a rushed production, right? Even though the budget was bigger, 2003, 2 movies came out. Like, you can kind of that's completely different. You know what I'm saying? But don't be overly critical of some movies, but at the same time, don't lower your expectations so much where you just let people get away with crappy movies or a lower bar. Like, stop with these classic masterpieces. Don't give me crap. Anyway, so excuse me. That's my thing. I feel the same way when I did with Ghostbusters. With most new properties that come out, I'm scared of trailers because trailers suck because people are so dumb they have to give them every explanation, every plot point in the trailer that it pisses me off. But anyway, so that's my thoughts. It's the same thing with you.
That movie started it. That movie started it. When that trailer released, huh? Yeah. No, well, also showing everything in the trailer. When that trailer released, I think it was the second scene, it showed the end scene. Like, it was like they're going to the bunker and everything's going to blow.
Well,
it was like,
T2 also had a spoiler in it that you didn't know Arnold was going to be the good guy. Like going in the movie, you wouldn't have known. Like, and they spoiled that as well. So T2 had a bit of a spoiler in it as well. But yeah. Anyway, let's see. God, your white background. It's so hard for me to read the comment. They did Ghostbusters Afterlife Justice and not showing anything. What's the last sentence?
In the trailer. Not showing anything of relevance in the trailer. Yeah, no, I agree. There's a couple things that you can that are suggested that you'll get, but I was pleasantly surprised throughout. Was it a perfect movie? Absolutely not. But it was better than I could have asked, especially for a movie this far removed from the original.
Right. So, well, and the other thing I don't like is just killing old characters because they're old. Like, well, we have them. We probably can't afford them on the next movie, so let's just kill them. Like, I'm not saying that happens in the Ghostbusters movie, but once again, going back to Star Wars, I was like, look, like, I'm going to spoil Star Wars for you. I know you don't care, Caleb, but, right? Right, you don't care. But you took a fantastic character in Luke Skywalker. You did 3 movies, the original 3 movies, and then you built up to the next movie. He had a failure. He went off to be a hermit. And then in the second movie of the trilogy, he is, he's lost everything. He went from this epic character to this guy who lost everything, lost who he was. And then at the end, he has a bit of a redemption and he's gone. Like, it's just, like, I don't like it when you just throw in old characters just to kill them off or to crap on their character. Like I couldn't see Ghostbusters really doing that. It's not really it's not that depth, and there's not really that kind of levity happening on this or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
you're gonna cry, John. You're gonna cry.
I might. I've seen the spoilers, so I just don't want to dig into it because I don't want to explore it more in my brain. But that's my fault, you know.
Yeah.
And on with Facebook, as much as we love movies and we have friends that love movies and everything else like that, people can't help but spoil. And so really, I give myself, I say there's about a week, 3 days to a week to where most people just shouldn't spoil anything. And then after that, it's my fault. It's anybody's fault. Like if you really love the movie and care about the spoilers, you should probably go see it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I do my best to not spoil anything, but anyway, but I got to wrap up here though, man. You got any final thoughts?
I'm more excited for John Wick 4 than I am for The Matrix 4. And I'm not really excited for John Wick 4. So, first one's really good. Second one's cool. Third one's all right.
I still haven't seen the third one. I like the second one. It was good enough, but I just haven't seen the third one. I've got them all on 4K, but yeah, I'm with you there. I shot a video while I was cleaning because I had to get some stuff out of the way, but I was like, I'm not getting this back out. So I shot a video on 3D printed plastic pieces for my original 1990s Megazords that I restore and sell. So that video will be up hopefully in a few days. The Trick or Treat one finally got uploaded. Holy my God, that was a day's worth of work. And then it still aired. So stick with us, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Kevin Jabari, I saw you in there for a second. Sorry if I missed any of the comments. We love you guys. Thanks for hanging with us for the 30-minute session where we couldn't get anything going. We love you. Good night.